What made you think you could do it?
Well, what made me think that I could do it? I'm crazy.
Welcome to The Path, where I, Ryan Roslansky, sit down with the biggest change makers, innovators, and thought leaders in the world. And at the end, we'll see what turning point shaped the incredible journey of these success stories. Today, I sit down with Dr. Kelly Burton, a political scientist and serial entrepreneur. In 2014, she was running an apparel startup and working with companies like Macy's. But 3 years later, the company ran out of money and shut down. Having experienced the hardships of scaling a business firsthand, she decided to pivot from being an entrepreneur to helping future entrepreneurs of color. The common thread for Kelly has always been this thought of, I struggled, but how can I make sure that others don't have to? Her path perfectly illustrates the reason I started this series. It's messy and full of sharp turns, but there is one clear purpose driving her through it all. She wanted to help people. Here's how Kelly Burton paved her path. I want to go way back to the first time when you can remember thinking about, I know what I want to be when I grow up.
So when you're the eldest in your family, you become almost like a caregiver to your younger siblings, to your parents. You're always looking to help and be in service. And I also grown up in Camden, New Jersey, which, in the 80s when I was growing up, was the murder capital of the country. A lot of, despair and drugs and a lot of the things that make neighborhoods difficult to grow up in. So seeing that, I was like, I'm going to be a part of the solution to ensure that kids get to grow up in communities that are loving and have the things that are necessary in order for you to be safe and be well. All I knew is that I wanted to help people, but every year that looked different.
At first, she thought the way to do that was through politics. So she moved to Atlanta and got her bachelor's in political science. She interned at the Georgia State Capitol, and then when she couldn't find a job after college, she decided to get her PhD. I heard you once say, I really enjoyed that doctor until like three months later, I started to get my student loan payments.
That's right. It's real cute.
If you could go back in time, would you have done that over?
Well, I thought it was a path that I needed to take in order to change the world. And I thought it was going to happen through politics. And then I realized that politics is influenced by business and influenced by money. Yep. And so if I really wanted to have the impact that I wanted, I need to be proximate to people who were business leaders and business moguls, if not to kind of build my own company. And so that's essentially what put me on the path to entrepreneurship. And then when I graduated, I just decided to open my own consultancy.
In 2009, Kelly launched Nexus Research Group, specializing in helping organizations create social change in low-wealth communities and communities of color. And that was her first taste of being her own boss. So let's talk about that first pivot. Remember that time period in your life or what you were thinking or any framework you used to make that decision to go and start your own company?
I'm bossy, Ryan. I'm bossy. I have always wanted to be in charge. Yeah. I've always been in the mindset, like, just give me the ball and let me run the play. Yeah. So being able to run my own business would put me in charge and kind of like a master of my own destiny.
All right, so you make that leap.
Yep.
Things are going well for a while?
Yes.
Like, talk about that first company.
I went from making $12,000 a year as a graduate student.
Yep. Yeah.
to making $300,000 a year. So I'm like, I'm balling, right? Oh my God, I'm killing the game. But what I, realized, it was very hard to scale that.
Got it.
Because it's hard to find those opportunities where you'll get a multi-year, 6-7 figure contract that's going to enable you to hire people and to scale. So then I'm like, okay, I need a product-based business because that's something I can scale. The name of it was Bodyology, and if Lululemon and Spanx had a baby, that would be Bodyology, right? Yeah. When I was running my consultancy, I was really, really busy, and I started to have all these symptoms. Turns out that I had Graves' disease.
Oh my goodness.
So Graves' disease is autoimmune condition. One of the things that I was really struggling to manage was these sweats. So men had like undershirts. Women don't have that. So that was the impetus behind Bodyology.
So I love that. That was based off of a need, and that was based on helping people. And that's it's a really, really inspiring story. First of all, like, what made you think you could do it?
Well, what made me think that I could do it? I'm crazy. I just wake up.
Important ingredient.
As many times as I hit a brick wall, I'm just like, all right, well, that's just the wrong way. Let me just go this way. It's just part of how I'm wired.
So that goes to a certain point, and you decide no more?
Well, I had put over $200,000 of my own money into it. And I was like, I just don't have access to the resources necessary to scale. And the big lesson out of that was, wow, it's really hard as a person of color to scale a business from multiple reasons. I didn't necessarily have the coaching or support to help me figure out kind of the venture angle. I did not have access to the distribution channels. Brick and mortar retail was in a really funky place around that time. Didn't know how to get online and do the e-commerce play. So I just ran out of options and ran out of money.
Did you feel like you didn't want to, you were being forced to make this choice?
I had a conversation with a good friend who said, Kelly, if somebody gave you $1 million today to take bodyology forward, would you take it? And I said no.
You knew.
I knew. I was done.
Wasn't it?
Energetically.
Yeah.
I was in. You pour a whole lot into a startup, and a lot of it, to push past it, you have to have the passion and the drive. And when that's depleted, you don't really have anything left.
What Kelly's saying is true. Running your own business takes a lot out of you. Kelly felt burnt out by the end, but her desire to help people never faded. She simply had to find another way.
I wrote a piece on how to keep your startup out of the startup graveyard because I was so frustrated with all the success stories. 7 to 8 to 9 out of 10 startups fail, depending on the math, right? So I wanted to kind of be very transparent about my failure, to say, these are the things I wish I had known 5 years ago when I was starting this thing. And that article just triggered a whole lot of outreach to say, oh my God, this is my story. And so I started Founders of Color, which was all about helping entrepreneurs of color to scale. They just don't know how to get over the hump from being a solopreneur, sole operator, to a viable, sustainable business. And that was our work at Founders of Color.
In June 2020, she helped launch Black Innovation Alliance, dedicated to funding, training, and supporting Black entrepreneurship and closing the racial wealth gap. In the last 2 years, it has raised nearly $7 million and helped over 370,000 entrepreneurs. That's pretty legit. Did you ever think about taking a more traditional path at any point along the way?
Never.
Never. I can tell in your face that never even
Never, and I'll tell you why. Because I built my life to be unencumbered. Build the life you want. The life you want. Not the life that your spouse wants, not the life that your in-laws want, or the life that your parents want. Build the life that you want. Your career is only a part of that, and figure out exactly how you're going to ensure that you're able to figure out success for you.
So here's my takeaway. Like Kelly, your path may be filled with dead ends, but when you tie your career to purpose rather than jobs and titles, that winding and sometimes arduous path will seem worth it. For Kelly, that purpose was helping people. She helped women gain confidence with her apparel company, and through different organizations has helped thousands of entrepreneurs of color grow their own businesses. And what I found over the years is if you can pave your career path at the intersection of doing good for the world and doing well in business, you'll find meaningful moments along the way.